So wonderful to see you again. It's Judy from Coffee, Cookies, and Books. And what we're going to do is take a look at my 25 must-reads for 2025. Did I read them all? Well, stick around and find out. So, I did the whole 25 must-reads in 2025 list when I first joined YouTube, because I'd only been on a couple of months by the time the end of the year rolled around, and I thought I would give it a go. And I essentially, out of 25 books, read 23, DNF'd one, and one I moved into 2026. So what I thought I'd do is just do a rundown of all the books, just sort of a quick synopsis. There's quite a few that are grouped together, and thought I'd just give you my star ratings for those so that you'd have that. And on top of that, I just sort of wanted to do a quick discussion on whether I like the books. Some of them are continuing series, so am I going to continue on with the series? I thought we'd go over all of that and just sort of take stock in how I did on my list. So first thing we'll start with is I did not read Heat of the Everflame. So that's the only one out of all of the books that I didn't get to. And again, that's because it is not the end of the series, and I believe that the next book in the series is supposed to come out in 2026. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping it does. Whether it does or it doesn't, I am planning to read it in 2026. So one way or the other, that particular one is going to get read. So that's the only one out of the 25 books that I did not read. Then I had one DNF. And the DNF I actually talked about in my worst books for 2025, or I guess my biggest disappointments, and that was the Jinn-bot Shantiport by Samit Basu. I did not, I finished it to 50%, didn't like the direction the book was going, just didn't continue it. So those are basically the only two books that out of the 25, essentially I didn't read. Okay, everything else I read and rated, reviewed, you name it. Okay, so let's talk about all of those books. See, the first three are three in the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I read the first book in 2024. So I read in 2025 Killer Instinct, All In, and Bad Blood. And I gave them all 5 stars across the board. And that is how I felt about it. I just felt that way. Now, the first book I did not give 5 stars. Okay. So, which is The Naturals, is the first book. That one I think was a 4-star, 3.5, 4 stars. So I did enjoy it, obviously. But how the story continued, where it went from there, and the situations that these kids were in as it developed. Totally loved it. Thoroughly enjoyed the whole thing. I can't see anything negative about it. Just thought it was fantastic, but the series is done. So I did finish it off. So then the next 3 books that I read together were from the same author, and they're part of the Temperance Brennan series by Kathy Reichs, and that is books 10, 11, and 12, which is Bones to Ashes, Devil Bones, and 206 Bones. And that is, so it was 4 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars. Now, out of her series, I think most of her books sit around the 4 mark for me. I have the odd one that doesn't, and I think the 206 Bones sat at 3 because it was like it kind of tossed between past tense and current tense, and it didn't flow right. To me, the actual investigative side of it just felt all over the place. So that's why that one got marked down a little bit more. So the whole series is about Temperance Brennan, who is a forensic anthropologist, and each book is a separate case. However, I do believe that you need to start at book one. So this is one of those series where you have characters. Now, she does work out of two locations. One is Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and the other one is Charlotte, North Carolina, I think is the other location. So the books can jump from one book will be in Montreal, the next will be in North Carolina, next book will be Montreal, next one in. So you know what I mean? So they do kind of jump around a little bit. So I do actually like that. I find that refreshing. And there are different characters in both locations. So there is kind of a cast of characters to follow in both locations. So I do really love the books. I think I have bought 13, 14, and 15. So, I do have those. And I do have some of the newer ones as well because I've gotten them off Book Outlet. So whenever they go on sale and I don't have them, I will grab them because it's always good to build up the collection at the other end because I'm not that far off. I think there are 24, 25 books in total. So I've read half at this point. Okay. Next one is books 8, 9, and 10 in the Stealth Ops series by Brittney Sahin. So that is a romantic military suspense series. Chasing Fortune, Chasing Shadows, Chasing the Storm. That respectively is 4.5, 4, and 5 stars. So the 10th book, so the books 8, 9, and 10 are part of the second team in the Stealth Ops series. So the first 5 books were the first team, and the second 5 books are the second team. But again, you have to read her books from at least the beginning of the Stealth Ops. It wouldn't hurt to go all the way back in her backlist, right to the very, very beginning, because all these people constantly get mentioned throughout. But as far as the Stealth Ops is concerned, you have to start at book 1 to get to book 10. Book 10 was like one of my favorites. The best freaking book. Loved it so much. And I did mention that when I talked about my best books for 2025. So it is in there. So I did really like that. And, I got to that book and I had cleared her backlist completely. So now she's on to a new series. Do have the first book in the series. Second book is coming out, I think, in February. Have that on pre-order because I love her books. Absolutely, 100% love her books. And I am on her ARC team. I usually read a lot of the stuff that she does self-publish, and she does some that are published through publisher. So depends on which way you go. But yeah, I love her books so much. Anyways, so I can't recommend them enough. And so those are those 3. Next book, another one that I mentioned in my top books is Wild Eyes, which is book 2 in the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver. I gave that one 5 stars as well. Absolutely loved it. I won't go into a long explanation about it. If you want to, again, watch my best of 2025 video because I do talk about that one quite a bit more in there. House of Flame and Shadow. I read that towards the beginning of the year. That was the last book in the Crescent City series and by Sarah J. Maas, and that was a 5 star for me. I think it was it the only book that was 5 stars? I can't remember if the second book, the third book, the first book was the one I liked the least out of the 3. Absolutely loved the last book. Loved it. So again, I talk about that in the best of. Then we have another one, which is part of a series, which I talked about again in the best of, and that is Love Unwritten. It is Lakefront Billionaires Book 2 by Lauren Asher. Book 3 has come out, and I have purchased Book 3. I think there's only 3 books in the series. The first book was very mediocre for me. That was because I don't know that I loved the characters that much. I didn't mind the book, but, you know, it was a typical contemporary romance to me. Love Unwritten, I absolutely loved the characters in the book. That carried it through for me so much. It did also kind of solidify, with something I didn't mention in the best of, it did solidify me and the 2 characters that I knew were coming in the next book, that I wanted to read it because I liked them even more. Okay, so it built that up more for me. So that's why, one of the reasons I am very much looking forward to the next book. Okay, then, well, let me just take a sip. I've got my San Pellegrino with orange, and it's very natural flavor. It's so great. It's not sweet, super sickly sweet. Very refreshing. While it's orange, it almost tips over into the grapefruit category a little bit, but I still like it. Even though I don't like grapefruit, I still like it. Okay, so we left off with Love Unwritten. So now we're on to Bride by Ellie Hazelwood, which again was another one that was in my top books for 2025 because I gave that 5 stars. Absolutely loved Bride. 100%. Fantastic paranormal romance book for me. I loved the world. I liked the characters. I thought that it had a touch of suspense, a little bit of political background. Yeah, everything in it. Loved it. Next one, How to Become a Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler. I gave that 4 stars. Really liked it. I have bought the sequel. It's just because there's only 2 books in the series. Can't remember what the sequel's called because it's a long title again. But I enjoyed this book very much. Now, I didn't give it 4 stars, and the only reason I didn't give it 4 stars is because I found it dragged a little bit in the middle. But the beginning, it was hilarious in the beginning, okay? And the ending was great. The main character, can't remember her name off the top of my head, because I read this in the summer or before then, but she was the single most tenacious person, okay? Because the whole idea behind this is that she is stuck in a time loop, okay? And it keeps going around and around and around, and every time it comes around, she gets killed, okay? So she decides at some point that she's going to make a different decision than what she's been making for like thousands of years, okay? She's going to make a different decision this time around to see how it goes. And it doesn't go okay right from the get-go. So she has to go back to the beginning and she has to try. She makes a lot of different decisions. And it's just how she does that is pretty funny. So I just really loved it. And I can't wait to read the sequel because of where she ends up at the end of it. Very good. 4 stars. Okay, then the next one is the last book I've read leading up to this video is Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So that is obviously in the Hunger Games. And that's the 4th book that she wrote. And that's the book that probably is the most unloved out of the group. And I gave it 5 stars. Loved it. Loved it. It just, yeah, it was fantastic. Okay. And I give all my reasons why I loved it in the favorites video for 2025. So you can go from there and watch that. I do have that one. Along with this one, I usually, when I'm doing ones where I'm giving reviews and I'm talking about specific books for long periods of time, I always tag all of my videos. So that one is tagged. So if you want to hear what I have to say about it, you can go in there. Okay, next one is My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. Loved it. 4 stars. I gave it. It was an enjoyable rom-com. Okay, him being a vampire and her not. And she ended up as his roommate. It was hilarious. Thoroughly loved it. Just the whole idea of how they ended up as a couple and a romance was pretty funny. Okay, so I can't recommend that one enough if you like rom-coms. And then I have bought the next 2 books. There's only 3 books in the series, and I have them, and they're going to be on a sort of a must-read list for 2026. Okay, then we have 2 books, book 2 and book 3 of the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey. That's Caliban's War and Abaddon's Gate, and I gave them both 5 stars. Now, the reason I didn't mention them in my favorites is because they didn't sit up there with the 20 that were, because I had like 32, 33, something like that, 5 stars. I had a lot of 5 stars. These 2 just did, because it didn't quite hit how much I liked. Well, no, the first book was like, I'd say the second book was my favorite, then the first book, and then the third book. So that was kind of the order they went in. Just because I didn't have them in that my favorites video doesn't mean they weren't a favorite, because they very much were. I love the series so far. It is a series that if you're a science fiction, that you'll like it because it has the element of people living in all kinds of different places, not far from Earth, but within the realm of Earth, from Earth to Mars and on asteroid belts and things like that, but how there is tension there, and they all have ships and they all have military. So it has a lot of that involved. And the whole thing begins with a missing girl, okay? And a detective who ends up going looking for her, and then a salvage crew that ends up trying to go in to salvage a ship. Their entire ship gets destroyed, and they're not on it. They're at the salvage location, and they get away. So it is very much military based, but in such a way that it reads beautifully. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just love it so much. Now, I understand the Expanse series is on TV. I haven't seen it. I don't even know how close it is to the books. I have no idea, but I can say the books are stellar. Okay. So then another book that I have on this list that was also in my favorites list is The Adventures of Amina El-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. So again, I shared all my thoughts over in that video. It was a 5-star. It was like 6 stars. It was such a good book. I just really, really enjoyed it very much. So I can't recommend it enough. And because of that book, I went on to pick up the City of Brass series by Shannon Chakraborty, and I'm hoping that I can get to it really soon. Next one is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. So I gave that a 4.5, and it came close to 5. Whereas the first book, which was Legends and Lattes, sat at a 3.5. You know, good solid start, but this one I just liked so much more. And I think what I liked about this one more was I liked the cast of characters, because it was a broader cast of characters. And I liked the fact that there were a bit of high stakes, even though it's cozy, because there was something sinister going on in the background. And I kind of liked that. And I liked the fact that right at the very beginning, Viv, she's hurt, and she's actually in this village to recuperate because she gets hurt really bad. And it goes through all of that too, and her struggles, because she's young at this point. Doesn't like the fact that she can't get up and get back out there, with her mercenary friends, and it's just not possible because she's hurt badly. So I really, really enjoyed that one. Can't say enough good things about it. The next one is one of the ones that was in my disappointments for 2025, and that is The Hitchcock Hotel by Stephanie Roybal. And it was 2.5, so I guess you could say it sat right in the middle, but I didn't love it. I didn't care for the characters. I didn't mind the story, I think, but I didn't care for the characters. So nothing kind of fit together really well, but it wasn't awful. So I would say that if she wrote another book, I would read it. So that's kind of where I was at with that one. Blindsided by Karen Slaughter, I gave that 3.5. I actually really liked it. That's the first book in the Grant County series. So I wanted to start with Grant County, because then from Grant County it goes into Will Trent. So I because I hadn't read any of her books, so I wanted to start right at the back of that back list. And I thought the Grant County series was a good place to start. So I started with that one. And of course, it is murder, thriller, that kind of thing. Can't remember the female character's name, but she is a coroner, and her ex-husband is the sheriff in this small town. So the story kind of goes from there, and it's pretty brutal, but it centers all around her. And she has a bit of a backstory also that comes up that's also pretty brutal. I will say one thing that I really like about Karen Slaughter's writing is she doesn't hold anything back. Very dark, okay? But I didn't mind that, because I don't mind that in a thriller, because it fit with the story, okay? So I really like that one. Next one is Kiss Cut. And I do have that on my priority list for 2026, along with Faint Cold Fear, which are the next two in the Grant County series. So looking forward to reading them. And then the last one that I read, which was actually one of the first ones from the list, because I read it in January, was Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. Now, this is part of the Crowns of Nyaxia series, but this is a standalone, okay? So you didn't need to read. Some people say it sits in the middle after her first two. It's supposed to sit right there. I don't think I missed anything by not, because none of the other characters appear. So I really liked it. She is a assassin, but she's blind, and he is a vampire. And she is sent, technically, to kill him. And he is trying to take over their land. So that is where it starts, but it begins and it finishes in that book. It is a standalone, and I did thoroughly enjoy the book. So I would have reviewed that back in my January reviews, but I can honestly say, if you have not read any of Carissa Broadbent's, you could safely read this and not worry that you're spoiling anything. Okay, so that's it. That was all of the books that were on my must-read list for 2025, and so I did really well on that list. What I'm going to talk about after, so I'll be doing another video talking about all of my challenges and how my whole year of 2025 went. So it'll be a bit more of a summary on everything, including this. But I wanted to go over this separately because this was a very, it was a special list for me because it was kind of my first list that I put together for myself. And I think I did really well on it, but I do tend to like structure. So having something structured like that just worked perfectly for me. So that's it for this video. And as I said, next one, I think the next one will be how all of 2025 went. So it'll be my summary for the entire year. So be sure to watch for that one.